nutrition coach, Arnetra. And today we're going to be talking about nutrition and hygiene. And believe it or not, yes, nutrition can totally affect your hygiene, right? So Nitra, let's bring you in here. Is this a true thing? Is this a myth? Like, what's up with the whole nutrition and hygiene thing?
Listen, no myth, folks. Everything that you put in your body as some way, shape, or form, it's coming out of your body. So if you are putting things in it that your body does not agree with, it can come through your pores. Everything is going to smell different, right? Anything you excrete is going to smell a little bit different. Your urine may smell different. Your actual body may smell different. Your hair, everything. And so no myth here.
You heard it here, folks. So we're going to jump right into it, guys, and definitely keep your questions coming. You guys definitely have been blessing Nitra and I at all of our social media outlets at BTNC Orlando, at Moving Forward Health. Please continue to reach out and send your questions. So we want to talk about nutrition influencing our hygiene. How do you know it's a nutrition thing?
Typically, you know it because it is only associated with certain things that you have eaten, and it's not an everyday thing. When you feel like it's something that you use or a product, you smell it every single day. So for example, a deodorant that doesn't work for you, soap that doesn't work, you're going to smell it every single day. But when you know it's nutrition or either something that doesn't agree with you, give you an example. Some of you who drink alcohol, all of a sudden you've gone out and that next day is coming through your body. It's trying to get out and it smells awful, but it's associated with an act, something that you've done. A cold cuts or certain types of meats. Some of you eating too much garlic, you smell it coming through everything that you sweat, everything you excrete, people around you is coming through your body. And so that's how you know that it is food related. Now, what is interesting is if you aren't smelling it, but other people do, then number one, maybe you've gotten used to it and that's not good. But number two, maybe it's also that there are things that you're eating that affect your nose, and your nose can be a little swollen, or maybe you can feel like you have allergies or constant, like a little nasally. So we have to work on that too.
Like mucusy, right? Like if it's also a little mucusy, that can help or be a warning signal. Mm-hmm. What are some examples of foods that can help you smell a little fruitier?
Well, listen, and so for everybody listening, these things can go to between your actual body, your breath, everything. So melons, cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelons, those can almost literally come through as sweet if you eat them on a regular basis. People who eat strawberries on a regular basis, papaya, pineapples, these are the things that you're going to excrete and actually probably are going to smell really good. Your skin will smell different. People will notice. It won't be someone who is just walking by you, but maybe somebody who gets a little bit closer to you, you're going to know. People who drink more water, clearly, when you drink more water, your sweat, everything is a little bit clearer. I'm gonna call it in my most eloquent form. I'm gonna say maybe it's more pure, maybe more purified, if I can use that as a term right now. But you'll have a more clean smell to your body in general. And then just a normal balanced diet. But those of you who eat a ton of sugar, a ton of processed foods, you definitely will feel it and smell it coming through your body.
Wow. Let's talk about, so those are some examples. So I heard pineapples, papaya. What else was there?
We had strawberries, any type of melon, watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe. Those are all things that will excrete a little bit more of a sweeter smell on your body.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, maybe not first, but you heard it here. So those are immediate solutions that you can plug into your daily routine. How long does it take for you to see the effects of that?
It depends on just how far someone is into maybe something's not agreeing with them. Give another example. Those of you who may drink tons of soda, it can excrete a heavier smell to your body. If you are someone who maybe you eat a lot of fried foods, you're gonna smell that coming through. Anybody who eats a lot of sandwich meat, that smell can come through. Those of you who love garlic, it's going to come through your body. Although garlic is good for you, but just understand it can come through the pores. So it may take some time. Certain cultures, I'll give you other examples, certain seasonings. We all know that turmeric, and maybe everybody doesn't know that, but turmeric or curcumin is really what it's called. It's very healthy, but for some, it is sweating through your pores and you smell it. So it depends on just how long you're doing some of these things, just how far we need to go. But it can take a few weeks, maybe at least 2 weeks or so, just to kind of get some of these things out of your system. And so that we can start to get a little bit of a more pure or a little bit cleaner smell coming from you.
So let's talk about, well, those are examples of fruit. So what are some examples of vegetables? And then we're going to segue into detoxing or eating to kind of clean your system out before you put good stuff in to help manage that whole smell, right? So like, what are some vegetables? I heard fruits. What are some veggies?
Almost any vegetables. If you eat vegetables on a regular basis, what that does is it's going to help you clean out your system. Those are the things that help you go to the bathroom regularly. And a clean gut, clean intestines means that all of your body is a little cleaner. And then your sweat is going to be different. You're going to smell different because you have a little bit of a cleaner intestinal tract. You're getting things that were not absorbed, things that your body does not need. It means your liver is flushing better. It means your intestine is moving properly, and you're getting some of those things out of your body. So that's a very easy thing to do, almost any vegetables on a regular basis, and you'll be just fine.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question like me and asparagus, like asparagus, like... you say almost any veggie. So if you eat a vegetable and you notice that your smell changed because you ate that vegetable, that probably doesn't work well for you. I'm going to go ahead and say.
So this is a good one. This is a good one because here's what I'm going to share. Every single person that eats asparagus, it is a compound in asparagus. Asparagus is a natural, almost like a natural water pill. It will naturally help you excrete additional water. If you are a little swollen, if you feel like you're a little puffy, if you're retaining a little water, you can eat a lot of asparagus and you will naturally go to the bathroom much more frequently, but you're going to smell that smell of asparagus. So anybody who's eaten that, if you go to the bathroom, your urine is going to smell, and it is a very distinct smell. And every single person that eats asparagus, it's the same thing. Nobody can escape it. No one can escape it. Everybody's going to have the same issue if you eat asparagus on a regular basis.
It's so good for you though. So I have managed to get over that portion of my stuff here. Nothing too personal for us on Nutrition 101. Let me tell you, we get it in. All right. So let's talk about like age now, right? So like we're in our mid 40s. You're in our
feeling like 20 though.
Woo, what you say? But yeah, shout out to all the folks newest in our 20s. How we doing? All right, how we doing? But anyway, Arnetra, we're gonna have to stand up because people like to take these headshots and you can manipulate headshots. Like we back up what we saying over here on Nutrition 101. You understand me? Let's get some understanding. But going forward to like the age part, right? Like I noticed, and I'm going to put myself on Front Street. Like I noticed my fragrance, because I work out a lot, right? And I'll notice in the gym when I'm sweating, the fragrance of my sweat has changed. As I progress from my 20s to my 30s, now into my mid 40s, I'm like, okay, things are a little different. So age does impact your change in smell because it's hormonally driven. So how do we counter that with nutrition?
Yes. And so what is very interesting about that, especially, it could be anybody. Men, it may be that we're starting to see, T levels for testosterone be a little bit lower. For ladies, that progesterone and your estrogen levels are different. Progesterone could be changing, and also your testosterone levels are changing as well. So you can start to smell different. And what's happening is things that used to hold you, they're no longer working. And it's not to say that you need something stronger. It just may mean that you just need a different brand, one different ingredient in a product that you use. So again, it can be product driven, but then also with the food you eat, the most important thing is to stay extremely hydrated. but understand that you do need maybe a different product to use that it's going to help you because you're perspiring more than you used to. And that's a whole nother thing where you're sweating more because our body temperature may be a little bit higher. So you need a product that is working a little bit differently for you. That one's going to be a little bit more than just the food, but for sure the most important part is stay hydrated and eat a very balanced diet as we start to age.
All right, let's go in reverse now. So let's talk about the young folk, right?
Ooh,
like,
ooh.
hey, my daughter's 13. And your son, I believe, Ty's what, 12, 13?
He's 13 as well.
He's
Youngest one is
13.
13. Mm-hmm.
Right. Our digital director, super connoisseur behind the scenes, his daughter is 11. So, and, a few of these questions actually came in when we touched on it in our last broadcast on Instagram. Hygiene in the young folks, right? Like, how do we help with that? Because the need for deodorant the onset of that seems to be earlier and earlier. Right? Like I was 13, 14 when I started wearing deodorant, and I was playing some sports. And that's when I had to start. But honestly, before that, I didn't need to. Was some good Johnson & Johnson powder in the bath, coming out of Jamaica.
And it is very
Florida
different
with that
today.
Heat. Right, you're good. So you smell like Daisy. So what is going on with that, you think? And how can we help parents of these young folks help manage this?
Yes. And so first things first, at younger ages, individuals are starting puberty so much earlier than say maybe when our parents went through puberty or even our age group went through puberty. So you're starting to see 8, 9-year-olds, right, who already have hair under their arms. They're sweating at a rate that would usually be someone who might be 14 or 15. Their body is developing at a different rate. And right, some people, right, there's many reasons why: foods that we eat, hormones that might be in the food, environment. But the fact is, it's happening at younger ages. And so while many parents feel like, God, my child, it smells like a grown person, they probably do, because their hormones are racing. And it's almost the same way that when individuals are older, those hormones are changing. Those young people, their hormones are changing and they smell very different. And so usually the common comment is, oh my God, especially young boys smell like onions, right? And it is a very strong smell. And it is only usually that smell in boys who are either through puberty, voice changing, from maybe about 10 to almost 16, 17. That's where you can smell that type of smell. So what you want to make sure, number one, is that you're giving your children soap that does not stick to their body. What I mean by that is that it doesn't build up residue on their skin, under their arms, in their private areas, because that stickiness is what's causing them to have a little bit of additional body odor. So that's number one, right? Number two, any parent that's listening, you all know the drill. Check your kids, folks. You all know. Okay, play with it. They stand in the shower. Half the time they aren't even using soap. Let's be clear. Any real parent knows they are probably not even using soap fully. So that's number two. Check that. Let's make sure they're actually washing. And then number three, try not to give them so many products that are so perfume laden. Why? Many perfumes, right? You all know that even as adults, there's so many things that just chemically smell different on different individuals. And at their age, there's so many chemical reactions already happening in their body. We need to lessen the amount of chemicals that you are then giving them, and then lessen the amount of smells you're putting on them. And so then they're able to walk around, pores not clogged up on their skin. They're not getting rashes, or they're not having sticky areas of their body because it's just too much product. So watch out for those things. But for sure, everybody with a teenager, you've experienced it. And also their feet. Another aspect is shoes, socks, material that you give them. Please make sure that you provide them clothing, right, that is breathable. And every material does not work for every person. So watch out for that kind of thing too, as you're buying their clothes.
So we have product, type of clothes. What type of foods?
And then, okay. And then of course, right. Sometimes it's unfair, right? This is Tracey and I on, and some of you may be thinking, oh, but those are you guys as kids. So they eat like really healthy. Our kids still eat like normal kids, maybe slightly better. Maybe we're going to say slightly better than the average kid, but we still have children and they need to feel like a kid. But the fact is, you still want to be sure that children have enough fluids. When you start letting your children drink too much juice, too much soda, they are not going to smell as clean because they're flushing mechanisms, right? They're not flushing their body in the same way. And that's how we get trapped odors because their gut health is not good. How many of you all have faced a child who all of a sudden your child tells you they didn't go to the bathroom in the last 2.5 days? And you're like, what? When were you going to say something? Right? Those are those things that matter. Or they eat a lot of snacks. Children who eat a lot of potato chips, people who eat a lot of cookies, a lot of processed foods, that can build up. People who eat a lot of cheese. Kids love pizza, right? They love cheeseburgers. Think about that when you're trying to plan your child's menu or you're really trying to decide what's the right thing for them. Put some limitations on, eating out, processed foods. That's going to help every part of their body. It's going to help them mature better. It's going to help them study better, sleep better, perform better, smell better, everything, if you can balance their diet a little bit more.
So what is an example of a balanced diet for an average, let's say 10 to 12-year-old? Because some people have very picky eaters. I have a picky eater.
I do.
And well. I struggle. He's 7 and I struggle with him with different things. But what started happening is I will introduce little bits of things on his plate. He'll try and go, oh my gosh, like now he's all about the little salad mix we made with the cherry tomatoes, cucumber, onion, and balsamic vinegar. Like who would think a 7-year-old would like that? But what are some examples? And should we just try it and see and not really fall underneath the guise of traditionalism? Kids are not going to eat their fruits and veggies. Just like we are encouraged to try things. Should we apply that same principle with our kids? So what is an example of that?
Yes. And that's a good one. I'll tell you, I think about when I was growing up, right? My mom used to try to force my sister and I to eat vegetables, but she also grew up in a different time. And the way that they cooked vegetables, they would cook them to death, right? Because they didn't realize when you cook them till they're like, I don't know. They're like
they're not even green anymore.
Apart. They're not even green anymore. The color is gone. People in my mom's generation, and so for those of you who may not know, my mom is the 78. My father is 78 also. They didn't realize that level of cooking vegetables was destroying nutrients, right? So to me, I hated vegetables. I thought it was the most awful thing ever. And she didn't allow us to kind of try it a different way. It was her way or no way, right? And so you got to respect that. But we have the chance to do it a little bit different. And so there's a couple things that I would tell you. Children will try things, but sometimes you have to allow them to try it their own way. And I'm not saying you don't have any say and they just kind of running amok doing their thing. No, but if they say, you know what, I don't really like that, ask a few more questions to find out what is it that you don't like. Was it a texture? Was it a taste? What? Because you may find that someone wants something that's raw where you think that's awful, but they like it like that. And sometimes as parents, we project our own dislikes for things onto our kids, but they do not have your palate. They do not enjoy or dislike the same things you do. So allow them to experiment. They may want ketchup on their broccoli. While I might think that's awful, guess what? If that's what you like and it's going to help you eat it, you know what? More power to you. Go ahead and do it. Right. And so that's where you've got to allow your kids to experiment just a little bit. And the one thing that I have found is juicing has been my friend. That is the way for my son that I can get almost anything I need to get in his body in liquid form, whether it's blended in a smoothie or in a juice. He's going to drink it pretty much because he is a little bit of a picky eater. But I have to do the same things that I'm telling you all. No matter what, all I have to do is let's try it. Try it one time. Tell me what you think. But don't be afraid to let your kids try new things.
That is great advice. I will definitely, because Miles like to help me juice. So I'm gonna definitely see if we'll make his own and then he'll drink it, because we got to find a different way for him. All right. So we're gonna jump into our live Q&A with our audience here. And guys, I wanna set up our next show will be the impact of stress on the body. And you don't want to miss this next episode. As Arnetra and I dive into internalizing stress, what that looks like, different testimonies and stories with that. In this current climate and environment, we're all going through different levels of stress. And I think it's very important that we have this real discussion and come up with ways that we can manage our health, especially in this very new environment that we are existing in. And that being said, Nitra?
And with this one, everybody, don't mistake how stress shows up for everyone. It looks very different, but it shows outwardly in very similar fashion, but your internal way that you may deal with things shows up differently. And sometimes you don't even recognize that that's what stress is doing. But Tracey and I will have some really good, real live examples of how stress has affected, whether it's us or clients that we work with or individual family members. So don't miss that one, and definitely send in your questions, because that one's going to be one that people are experiencing all over and maybe ignoring. So
that's right. We don't want to ignore the warning signs of our body. We have got to be more proactive and not reactive, because Arnetra, what's your favorite tagline? It's all good until
it's not.
And with that, let's jump into our Q&A segment. All right. Hey. Hopefully you got some good nuggets out of that today. We're now going to jump into our Q&A segment. We want to apologize for the audio. I know we had some difficulties with that on the front end, but welcome to technology. But that being said, we have a few questions here. So Arnetra, fried food and fatty foods, how does that really impact how you smell? That was one of the questions. Fried food and fatty foods, like this person said, it's football season. I can relate. It's
we
football
all can
season.
Relate.
Yeah, me too, right? And it's time to turn up the bourbon and the wings. And so what does that really affect how you smell over time?
Oh man, so I like the last part of that, the bourbon and the wings, because I'm going to come back to the alcohol at the end of that. So if you are someone who eats a lot of fatty foods and fried foods on a regular basis, it absolutely will affect your smell, because you smell it through your sweat. Usually, let me tell you why. Usually individuals who eat a lot of these things, they're usually a little bit more of a sluggish type of individual, which means they usually can get tired easily. They may have less activity. And again, these are a broad generalization, but typically if this is what you eat on a regular, there's just some factual things that you probably won't be able to do because of your diet, which means your activity is probably less because you're tired. Your intestinal tract is probably slower because you're eating a lot of fatty foods and a lot of fried foods. They take longer for the body to process and make it through the digestion process. Your gut health is probably not as good either, because those fatty foods and those fried foods, they actually kill off many of that good bacteria that you need. And then when you have less activity, again, you're not really burning through. So you get a lot of things that are just kind of hanging out in your body. And at some point, guess where? It's got to come through somewhere. So you will notice, and don't laugh everybody out there, but usually people who eat those things, usually their poop smells awful. And so for those of you who think everybody's poop smells awful, not true. Not true. Those are the other people who eat well. They go to the bathroom, 2 minutes, I'm in, I'm out. You never even know what I did. But people who eat really awful foods on a regular, that is an awful smell that is like, whoa, what's going on with your body inside? right? And so that's coming out of your body, and it's going to come through your sweat also. So now let's jump into that last part, alcohol. I just cannot say enough about that. It is creeping out of everywhere when you drink on a regular. You all know it. Those of you who, many of our audience, you know, you are college grads. You all remember what it was like football season, and then y'all have carried it into adulthood, even with your children playing. We drinking all the time. We beering it up. Y'all know, smell your sheets the next day. That smell is strong. So be very careful, folks.
Oh my gosh. Warning signs, poop and sweat, people. Pay attention to your poop and your sweat. All right. Again, we are very familiar on this show. Yes. Okay, so let's keep it going with the hygiene. This next question is about bad breath. You mentioned, we touched on it when we were discussing that. So expand a little bit on bad breath and nutrition.
Okay, so this, I think this one's probably very funny because there's a lot of ways that this can go. All right. But typically, just be frank, people who have poor breath, number one, it usually is because you have a stale mouth, which means you don't actually drink enough water. That's usually the very first sign of people who have bad breath, because people who drink water on a regular basis, and you all think about it, people in your life who you talk to, they drink a ton of water. They almost never have bad breath. They're constantly flushing that mouth. Almost never, right?
That's so true.
Think about it. But people who don't drink as much water, right, or long periods of time, they just sit. People who be coffee drinkers, tea drinkers, but you don't drink any water. You eat a lot of food that you don't drink water, right? You're going to have a stale mouth. Or people who, and then let's jump to just hygiene in general. Usually bad breath is a sign of you don't floss. And understand that either people, you don't floss or you don't brush your tongue. Those two things. You don't floss or you don't brush your tongue. And when you don't floss, understand that science has proven people who do not floss, you have a higher risk of heart disease. Why? That bacteria is building up in your mouth, in your teeth, in your gums, and it is going straight. It's in your body. And so you've got a lot of little things that should have been gone out of your body that did not, because they are in your teeth. And so you've got to watch out for that. But it's fact. If you don't believe it, look it up, folks. That is factual. You have a higher risk of developing heart disease when you do not floss, on top of gingivitis, and you might make your teeth fall out. So, right? We don't know. Okay.
Did not know.
So, all right. So can help you. Fruit. People who eat melons, strawberries, you typically will have better breath.
So instead of chewing that super high-tech Altoid that's about to burn an ulcer. I'm like, what's wrong with this peppermint? Yes, it's not supposed to be like it's burning. Yep, my mouth is on fire. Right. That can't be a good look.
Fruit, folks. You'll be just fine. Eat some fruit, eat some water. Fresh breath.
Pineapples, man. That is like my go-to. I love my pineapples. Rick Ross sung about that, but that's another story. All right. So peppers.
That's our nighttime hour show.
That's right. That's our after dark that's coming. All right. So peppers, right into the next question about peppers and internal thermo triggers. Peppers can cause a natural thermogenic effect on the body. Is that a good sign? And how does peppers affect your hygiene?
So guys, that's a good question. And it is actually in a lot of products that are about weight loss. So peppers, what's in peppers is capsaicin. And so that comes in a lot of different forms. And I'm going to say forms, meaning heat levels. So you can have capsaicin levels. Let's say bell peppers have capsaicin, but it's a different level of capsaicin. So you don't really feel like that heating effect throughout your body. But then when we go up, right, jalapenos, a little bit more, red chili peppers, a little bit more. Then as we keep going up, you have different levels of capsaicin. So some of you out there may use products, let's say some diet pills have capsaicin in it. some thermogenics, and it can be oral thermogenics or ones people rub on their body. You all have seen thermogenics where people rub it on your stomach and they may have cinnamon in it, and other types of peppers. It's heating up your body temperature. Yes. So that's why some people use it. It is a known fact in even ancient remedies. It helps with digestion typically. And it also is a way to help you manage not overeating when you have a little bit more spice to your food, because people tend to eat less. Okay.
Wow. And let's add about the fragrance. How does pepper help with the hygiene side?
And then the other part of that is, if you eat too many peppers, remember what's happening. It is almost speeding up. Some people would say it's speeding up the metabolism, but understand there's a lot more technical pieces there. So that's not all the way true, but it is speeding up thermogenesis. So your body is hot, which means that you are going to probably start to sweat. So that is why people will feel like, oh man, it's coming through my body, because the hotter those peppers, capsaicin, that's what you are starting to smell through the body. And capsaicin is in a lot of things we eat, to include spices that aren't necessarily spicy, but you're going to smell them. So for example, when we talk about curcumin, cloves, when you feel like, a lot of people who eat certain spices, man, you can smell it all the way through them, because it's causing them to sweat.
This is good stuff, family. Now, the last question that we have time for, and then we're going to segue into our next show, and next topic, I should say. We mentioned juicing. Where's a good place to start with juicing, and what is the first sign of effect that this is it's a good effect? Lord, I can't read today. It's a good effect on our hygiene.
So with juicing, so many of you probably out there thinking, God, I cannot drink vegetables. That is just not going to do it. Hate it. Jesus, I cannot drink celery. Absolutely not. I could not possibly, right? I could not possibly
celery.
Drink, kale or spinach or collard greens. That's awful. So the easiest way to start is always matching those vegetables with a very sweet fruit, i.e. apples, pineapples. Those will help you mask the taste. Carrots in juice form will help you mask a lot. An apple is an overpowering taste in a juice form. You will almost not even taste the other items. Pineapples, very strong. So when you put some of those fruits in with juicing, it will help you at least start, so that you don't feel like, oh my God, I don't like it. Now, the second part of the question is, when do you know that it's a good thing? I'm going to tell you, and then Tracey can probably share her own experience, but any client that I have who starts juicing, and once they're in a good rotation and they've got a good groove, about a week or two, I always ask the same questions. Hey, how are you feeling? How's your sleep? Hey, did you notice anything different with your bathroom habits? And every time, about 2 weeks in, they're noticing, man, what? I used to have a few aches and pains, and I didn't realize it's starting to go away. I used to go to the bathroom. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. I used to not be able to sleep. My leg, like restless leg. I used to wake up all the time. And so they start to see, something's different.
Yeah, and to add to that, it's an ongoing checkpoint, guys. It evolves. Like you never stop reaping the benefits of juicing. When I started it's way back now. When we started back in November, December, with my journey into where we are now, celery juices, I love. I got to the point now I can just drink celery juice straight up. But there's so many benefits from that energy boost. I feel a nice energy boost. I like to drink it before I go work out, in like midday when I need like some brain power. I'm noticing I used to have this sore pain in my shoulder blade from typing so much on my laptop and from throwing those tires, right? And that's gone. Like when you said it just now, it's when it clicked to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even feel that anymore. Rolling over out of bed, sometimes it gets a little achy. That's gone. Definitely my digestion energy level, just like even the dark circles under my eyes. Like these CNN lights make a sister look good, but listen, y'all check my pictures out. You will see the dark circles have faded under my eyes. And that was attributed to many different things. But those are some checkpoints that you guys can use. You can use your energy, your sleep, your digestion, your bowel movements, dark circles under your eyes, your eye color, all these kind of things.
Absolutely. And understand too, as you continue on that juicing journey, it also helps people manage a little bit of their sweet tooth. So many people think they crave sugar. It's not a crave sugar. It's just the only thing you've been giving yourself. And you just like something, right? And that's okay. But it allows you to manage your palate. And so what you find is that juicing, the more advanced you get, the more that we can add to it. And you start to help remove inflammation from your body. We want to do things that are very liver friendly, and it helps flush some of those things out of your body. So when we start talking about detoxing, we don't need to detox. We just need to eat different, and your body will detox itself. And that's what we're really trying to do, is keep a healthy internal body with the addition of juicing. And you'll see so many different things start to happen. Your hair will look different. Skin will look different. Those of you who suffer with dry skin, you start to see some differences. Your skin can clear up. So there's a lot of reasons why that's a great addition to your health journey.
Yeah, I want to touch on something. Juicing does not mean meal replacement. Like let's separate those two. This is 4 to 6 ounces or 6 to 8 ounces, depending on what Nitra decides to do for you per day. So this is not like 16 ounces, like 2 glasses. This is, a small amount, and it's potent. You don't need a lot, so just want to make sure I separate that this is not a meal replacement. It is designed to drink like you drink a glass of water.
Absolutely, folks. It is just an addition to eating. Nothing replaces eating whole foods. We still need to chew. We still need to digest food. We still need that fiber from fruits and vegetables. So nothing will replace eating food.
And that brings us to our close today. But before we jump out of y'all's live stream, listen, the next show is so important. Not that any of our shows haven't been. Please share. Please send your questions. Please look out for our posts. Please follow at BTNC Orlando at Moving Forward Healthcare. We have our Perspective Facebook pages. We also have our Perspective YouTube channels. We're both on Instagram. There's really no excuse, but stress. And a lot of our counterparts have passed away since 2020. And when I say counterparts, I mean Arnetra and I's age group, right? And so I'm really bothered by what I'm seeing. And I did a little PSA earlier on Facebook when I went live after my workout yesterday. And it's like, I am disturbed by the numbers of people I see dying. Some of them are COVID related, but they had comorbidities going into COVID and didn't address it, ignored it. I can't speak for everyone, but I am disturbed, and I would be doing a disservice if I do not articulate my level of concern for you guys to win with your health. And stress is a silent killer. It will stay and be stored in your body and just slowly sneak up on you and manifest in ways like inflammation, headaches, fatigue. It disturbs your sleep. All these different things because of stress. Our next show is stress and nutrition. And how do we really wrap our hands and our minds around those situations? How do we identify these stressors so you can be better? It's a problem, y'all. Yep. Especially post-COVID too. Well, there is no post-COVID, but the stress from dealing with COVID.
And you all may think, oh man, that's kind of doom and gloom, but it's a reality. And it's unfortunate that, in what we do, and as a coach, for me, I get a chance to see a lot of highs and lows, right? I get to see people win. I get to see them experience fantastic results and also change their entire life, right? And so when we think about what are we doing, we're able to change someone's life. This isn't just a small term, okay, I'm going to look better. And so, and I share that because Stress is one thing that can kill you. And sometimes I think when we're talking about changing a lifestyle, it's oftentimes, I think, in some people's mind, confused with aesthetics. That's not what we're talking about. If you want to look a certain way, that's a completely different regimen. Not even talking about that. That's a completely different program. That's something different. But it's about being healthy. This is going to save your life. So it's not about how you look. Looks change because we lead a healthier lifestyle, not the other way around. That's right.
It's a byproduct. It's a byproduct, but the internal checkpoints is more important than anything else, guys.
Absolutely.
So please make sure you stay tuned and follow up. And I'm gonna pass the mic to my fellow co-host here, and you can close this out, Nitra.
All right. So hopefully you all join us, and remember, please send your questions. No question is off limits. Next week topic, all about stress, how you internalize it, how it shows up, and more importantly, what can you do to help improve your situation? That's the most important part. What can you do? So please send us your questions. You can send them to Moving Forward Health on Instagram, BTNC Orlando on Instagram, and both of those are the same names for Instagram and Facebook. And then, of course, this YouTube channel, Moving Forward Healthcare. So send us your questions. We look forward to talking with you next week. Until then, hey, have a great holiday, and we will see you next week.
Love y'all. Let's get better.